Hello, hello, hello. This is your message from the universe for December 24th, 2020. This is the rune Isa. Now, Isa is the rune of isolation. It is the rune of that spiritual isolation, that center, that space where it is just you and yourself. And it is sitting in that moment of standstill. This rune is the rune that comes with surrender to the moment. Now, we in our society have really put a negative spin on the word surrender. But if we shift how we're looking at this word, surrender actually means just giving into the emotions of the moment or giving into what's happening right in this second. So it can be surrendering to the passion of a moment, surrendering to the taste of that ice cream and eating, the rest of it. It can be surrendering to the fun of the situation you're in, even when you're feeling badly. So all of these things, we put a negative connotation on that moment of surrender, but really it is a freeing moment when you surrender to the space of acceptance. You surrender and say, you know what? I am what I am. I am who I am. This isolation, this standstill is used for us to gather our thoughts, to gather our energy, to recognize who we are, what we are, to know thyself in a deep way, and to know those spaces that need healing. This Isa is really about taking that time in that moment of surrender to release and heal the pain of our past. To look at the fact, yes, I have a lot of pain from my past. Yes, I'm carrying the burden of all of these swords. And yet, I can look at it in a different way. I feel like I'm incredibly alone. I feel like nobody supports me. I feel like I'm all alone out there in the world. And yet, that is the most beautiful space to be with myself and to get to know myself and to talk to myself and listen to what is going on in my own mind and to get to know my own reactions as intimately and as thoroughly as I might learn my partner's. Many people, especially when you're married, you learn every mood, every gesture, every indicator that something's going to go sideways with your partner, especially if you're in a little bit of a narcissistic or a slightly controlling type of a situation. We'll learn every one of their triggers and moods, and yet we'll have no idea about our own. We won't recognize that outburst coming. We won't recognize that melancholia coming up. We won't see that we are being passive aggressive. We won't see that we are manipulating. We won't see that we're actually hurt about something that happened 10 years ago, not about the fact this person didn't put away the dishes. But let that person have one mood or one trigger or one warning, and you are immediately in that mode of either taking care of them or attacking them, depending on how your the balance of power is in your relationship. It's really about overcoming that fear of isolation, overcoming the anxiety that comes with feeling like you're all alone, like you're not supported, like you don't have help. That takes a very different type of strength. It takes a very different kind of strength to recognize that you are all alone, but that you are still strong. That you are in this as a singular human, and yet the strength is knowing that we are actually part of the plurality and connected to everything. It's not an easy space to be in. It takes adjustment. It takes shifting, because basically you have to embrace all the feels. You have to embrace all the feels. The bad feels and the good feels, the fun feels and the not so fun feels, the feels where you feel like you're hurting yourself, the feels like you feel like you've been hurt in the past. You have to embrace all of it and surrender. because you have to feel it to heal it. You have to dig into it to recognize where it comes from, why it's growing, what it's doing there, and what you are supposed to learn from it. Because our experiences are meant for us to grow from. They are meant for us to learn from. They are meant to help us shift our perspective on our experience in this particular plane of reality. It's not an easy task at all, but as I've told you guys before, when I pull my crystals, I pull them before I do the reading. So I just kind of like look at them and they call to me and say, hey, pick me up, pick me up. So the two that I picked was my rose quartz, which is for unconditional love of self, and this one, which looks like a red jasper. I'm not really sure if it's a red jasper. I picked it up in the mountains, but it sure as heck looks like a red jasper. And this one connects to your root chakra. So that would be feelings of rejection and abandonment. And so pulling those stones and then having this reading is really talking about digging down to that space where you feel completely isolated, alone, rejected, and abandoned. And embracing all the feels of that. And not embracing them because, oh, I love that I feel that way, but rather embracing them because you have to pull them in, you have to dig down to them, you have to find them in the rubble of your life, in the corner of the closets that you have been hiding this pain in. You have to lure that pain out, and then you have to love it. You have to love the fuck out of it. You have to love it so much and love the people who hurt you so much that you are literally connecting to the divine energy of God while you are doing this. And because all time happens all the time, you are literally healing yourself as you do this. It's not an easy task. It's not a simple task, but it can definitely be done. And that's kind of the whole point, is to dig into it and surrender to it. You are beloved, you matter, and you are so very loved.